One of the defining moments of the Little Blue Men's history came when they sold out back-to-back nights at Britain's legendary Yorkshire Dome. Playing to the largest crowds of their career to that point, the band began to notice a change in the way they were perceived by the audience.
A lot of times before the show, Bert and I will dress up in some sort of wig and maybe a false beard or something and go into disguise and we'll sort of mingle with the crowd and we'll sort of listen to what they're saying. And I can't wait for the Little Blue Men group to come out. I love everything they've done. I love all their records. Things like that. We'll say, well, which Little Blue Man do you like the best, And then they'll say, I love Bert McGuinness. Do you remember Prince in the Closet? And then I'll say, but how about Nard Silvers? Do you like him? Well, not so much. And I have to say, oh, really? Okay, well, that's all right, Inside, I'm all torn up. But we have feelings nonetheless.
I mean, what else is there to say, The work speaks for itself, doesn't it? I mean, come on. Spin the records, Fondle Me With Care. Sound as a Pound. Pulsatile Musings in the Key of G. I mean, these are landmark records, These are the work that he was able to do on Ham Scam, and Erection Direction. It's unmatched in the history of reversing the palindromes, right? In My Flat, the Minstrel Cycle. I mean, name me another sound engineer that could do what Puppy was able to do on telegraphs and smoke signals, for example. Or the Unbearable Devastation of Whimsy, right? I mean, there are times I listen to a record like Riding the Pine, and I'll think, this man is a genius, There's, the list goes on and on, One Step Over the Line, Sweet Jesus, Terry Cloth Dreams, Buns in the Oven, These are records that will stand the test of time, and people will be Filibuster for a Friend, LBJ, Bitches and Heat. I mean, these are just... I can't think of another, sound. The greatest record ever made, which frankly I don't think was our best effort, but Puppy's work, it can't be discounted. After opening for the band Queen on 2 consecutive tours, McGuinness and Silvers formed close friendships with Freddie Mercury and Brian May. Well, I'll never forget him. I don't think any of us ever will, He was an extraordinary talent. An extraordinary man as well. But what I think a lot of people don't realise is that Freddie Mercury was above all an extraordinary ping-pong player. Well, the competitive nature in him was amazing. I'd never seen anything before or since. No, Freddie Mercury could take just an everyday, ordinary occasion, just a situation that's just going on, and turn it into a competition, and it would get heated and fierce, I remember one night it was around the holidays, and we were all hanging out at Freddie's flat in London, and he had this bowl of pistachio nuts, and he was cracking them with his teeth, and Carly Simon was there, and she reached in her hand into the bowl at the same time, and immediately that spark lit up in his eyes, and he's like, oh, is this a challenge? Is this a challenge, Carly? And she said, she was a bit taken aback. She's like, what? I don't understand. And he said, well, I can crack more of these with my teeth than you can in a shorter amount of time, And she was up for it, She didn't. She was no shrinking violet, as they say, She rose to the occasion, and before we knew it, those two they had to run out to the store. Roger Taylor from Queen ran out to the store and bought as many pistachios as he could, right in the shell, and brought them back. And they spent an hour and a half, like 90 solid minutes, just cracking these nuts with their teeth, just as fast as they could, They looked like little squirrels, just faster and faster and faster, And it was amazing. Little bits of shells just flying everywhere, and it was amazing. When it was all said and done, Freddie, he pulled it out, and he won the competition too.
Well, of course, one of my good friends is Brian May of the band Queen. And many people don't know, but Brian May is very quiet and introverted. And which is strange because he's the one that wrote, we will rock you. Let me hear you now. We will rock you. Let me hear you now. And over, right? And we are the champions of the world and all of that, But he's really quite quiet. If you get to know him on a personal level, he's extremely bright as well. And I'll never forget, I went over to his place, and turns out, and I didn't know this before that day, that Brian May is an astrophysicist. And he's a great astronomer. He's very well read. And he said, do you know much about string theory? And I said, string theory? Of course I know about string theory. I think about it all the time. What's the quickest way to get a bikini off a woman?
Supporting charities had never been at the top of the band's priority list. That is, until they discovered the plight of one of their own. Ever since our roadie, Dirty John Wexler, came to us all those years ago and told us about it, and what he's had to suffer through, it's something that we've wanted to help eradicate and find a cure for. An exceedingly rare congenital genital condition, Kishwaukee syndrome affects approximately 1 in 3 billion men. It's known to the layman as saddlebag syndrome, and the reason for that is because with Kishwaukee syndrome, the scrotum is attached in front of the penis, as opposed to in the normal fashion. And as such, during an erection, the testes fall on either side of the shaft, creating the appearance of saddlebags. And so one can imagine, the horrors that are faced by a young man, going out onto the dating scene, knowing that he has Kishwaukee syndrome. And it's something, Dirty John has had to deal with on a daily basis, being a roadie for this band, as one can imagine. And so we wanted to help right from the very start, and that's why we organised the benefit concert. And I'll never forget the first one. It was held on leap year, and we were finishing up. We'd finished the main set. We were meeting backstage, deciding to go out for the encore and what we might play. And we started to hear whispers of the pledge numbers, and we realised, my God, lads, we've done it, We've made a rousing success here. Let's do this every year, We could really help. We could really make a difference. And so that's what we decided to do. And so when we went back out for the encore, Naj grabbed the mic and he said, we'll see you next February 29th. And as a result, we've only been able to raise about a quarter of what we originally hoped. And let's see, how did that work? It was her co-star, John Ratzenberger. His manager played racquetball with our manager, So it was only a matter of time, before I found myself, introduced to Kirstie Alley. And, right from the start, right off the bat, we hit it off. And it was an intellectual connection, Of course, physically we were attracted to one another, It was early in a career, young starlet, about Hollywood, and but what really got me, what turned me on about Kirstie was that we shared such an immediate bond, intellectually, shared the same taste in music and fine art, We'd go for strolls and just talk about life, and I never felt more, genuinely connected to someone. I never knew love could be like that, it was fantastic. And she was, understandably, as a young actress in Hollywood, concerned about her body image, concerned that, parts would go to other ladies, and I would try to, to calm her fears, Try to encourage her a bit, say, if you want another bite of cheesecake, go ahead and have it, love, That's not what I love about you anyway. Yes, the sex is fantastic, but, I love you for your mind and your heart, That's what's real. It's extraordinary. But then it got to be, all a bit too much, I mean, my God. Enough's enough, my God, put down the fucking fork.
Returning home a fortnight behind his bandmates, Bert McGuinness was given some startling news.
Oh, of course, yes, the luging. Oh my God, that was a disaster, wasn't it? Narj gets this idea. He says, I'm getting a bit burnt out on the whole music scene, and I need to take a break, love. And we say, well, we all need a break. What are you planning to do? And he says, well, I want to enter the Olympic sport of luging. And we all thought, what the bugger? Where's he come up with an idea like that? Now, the thing is, this was during the golden age of English luging, and there was no way he was going to break into singles. So what he did was he joined with another luger, Prim Stevens. You've probably heard of him. And they practiced the two-man luge, and they were getting their speed down quite good. I'm not sure they were quite close to qualifying for anything, but I do know that they were practicing quite hard. And until one day there was an absolute horrid wreck. They went up. I don't even understand the physics of luging, but they wrecked terribly bad, and Prim broke his leg, and he was just screaming. And they went out and they looked at the leg, and my God, it was bursting through the skin. His femur had broken and there's blood squirting everywhere, and he was lucky to walk away. Well, of course, he didn't walk away. He was drug away, begging to be put down like a horse. But the end result then is Narj, instead of coming back to the band, he decides to re-devote himself to the luging, and he takes Benny, our drummer, Benny Plimpton. He takes him away from us and says, you know what, we're just ending the band. We're done with it. We're closing up shop, no more Little Blue Men. Benny and I are going to qualify for the Olympics, and so that's what they tried to do. Now, if you've ever seen Benny, he's not exactly an aerodynamic physique, and they had a horrid time of it. Never ever could get anywhere near qualifying, and eventually, they came back to the band, and we never really mentioned it again. But it was quite the time, watching the two of them lay on top of one another, sliding down a sheet of ice. It's rather odd.
Today, Bert McGuinness has grown into a songwriter concerned with social injustice. Ripped from the headlines, his protest song Orenthal makes a plea for leniency toward O.J. Simpson.
Well, I think the persecution of the man is what really got to me when I first heard that story. I mean, it was just shocking that a man would have to resort to thievery to regain his own possessions. I mean, I don't care what he's done in the past. I mean, no one should be treated like that.
Send a message to the powers that be!
Let the Jews loose, let the Jews loose, let the Jews loose right now.
Incarceration is not the answer!
Let the Jews loose, let the Jews loose, let the Jews loose right now.
It's not like he's a danger to society!
Let the Jews loose, let the Jews loose, let the Jews loose right now.
What a sweet, sweet gentleman!
Let the Jews loose, let the Jews loose, let the Jews loose right now.
punishment fit the crime.
Let the Jews loose, let the Jews loose, let the Jews loose right
Let him go!
While still embroiled in the Vanity Fair scandal, McGuinness found himself in legal trouble, the result of a plagiarism lawsuit filed by Glenn Frey of the Eagles.
Well, he's a wanker, you know. First and foremost, Glenn Frey is a bitter old bastard, you know, that's incapable of... The thing is, I'm legally obligated to not discuss some of this, you know, but as part of the settlement, exactly. What I think about him is it's a big pie, you know, and we should all have a shot at a slice. But, you know, this bugger wants the whole thing for himself. And you know, the thing is, there's only so many chords, you know. There's only so many notes that you can play around with, and sooner or later, you know, I'm sorry, but Glenn Frey does not hold the patent on a G chord, and eventually, you know, someone out there's going to repeat it, you know. So plagiarism, my ass. I you know. No, go ahead. No, I wish you would. Go ahead and play it, and you know, set the record straight, because you know, it's totally without merit. Go ahead. Well, I've been running down the street, blisters on my feet, got 11 women in my head. 5 that wanna hunt me, 4 that wanna jump me, 2 just wanna use my bed. So come on back. Right, now I don't hear it personally, you know, but you know, no. Look, I would love to debate this further with you, but unfortunately, I've got to catch a plane. Sorry.
It would not be the last plagiarism battle for McGuinness.
Well, what happened is we had just finished recording our album. We were very proud of it, and we wanted to call it something, you know, that spoke to how good we thought it was. So we called it Winner. However, when it went to the printing place where they made up the jacket, there was a typographical error that was made, and so the album came out titled Wiener, which was quite different from what we originally intended. As a result, then, the song Winner didn't make much sense as a single.
Well, me mum told me, find your winner, and boy, don't let your winner go.
So I went back and re-recorded the vocals and put it out as the lead single, Wiener.
Well, me mum told me, find your wiener, and boy, don't let your wiener go.
Because both songs were lyrically similar and had the exact same melody, I went ahead and sued myself for plagiarism, and I won that lawsuit as well. The attorney that I had retained at the time was, quite frankly, out for blood, and I became very rich as I bankrupted myself at the same time. Naj wrote a song then about that whole situation, called it Even Steven. Unfortunately, he lifted the melody from both Winner and Wiener, and so we are still in litigation over that.